You ever just stop and think about the invisible rules that run our lives? You know, from the laws we follow to the people we vote for, there's this master plan at work. Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and take a look at that plan. We're talking about the very blueprint of our societies, political science.
So let's just start with the biggest question right off the bat. When you hear the words political science, what really comes to mind? For a lot of us, it's probably cable news headlines, or maybe those heated debates you see online. But what if I told you that's just the tip of the iceberg? What if the real story is so much deeper?
Look, it's really easy to get caught up in the day-to-day drama of it all. But political science, it's about looking past the shouting matches and the campaign posters. It's the study of the entire underlying framework. We're talking about power, governance, and the really big ideas that shape how we all manage to live together. It's not just about what's happening, it's about why it's happening. All right, so to really get our heads around this blueprint, we're going to go on a quick journey. First, we'll tackle the foundational questions. Then we'll meet the architects of these ideas. After that, we'll see how states are actually built, zoom out to the global stage, and finally, we'll bring it all right back home to see how this stuff impacts your daily life. Okay, let's dive into part one, the core questions. Every great structure, whether it's a skyscraper or a society, has to rest on a solid foundation. And in political science, that foundation is built from these huge, timeless ideas that people have been wrestling with for, well, forever. First up is a big one, liberty. At its core, this is all about the freedom to live your life, to speak your mind, and to make your own choices, without someone, especially the government, breathing down your neck. It sounds simple, right? But trust me, it's one of the most fiercely debated ideas in any democracy. And then right there with liberty, you've got equality. This is that powerful idea that no matter who you are or where you come from, you deserve the exact same rights and a fair shot at the same opportunities as everyone else. It's all about leveling the playing field. But here, and this is key, here is where things get really interesting. These two incredible ideas, liberty and equality, are often pulling in opposite directions. I mean, think about it. If you have total individual freedom, could that lead to massive inequality? But on the flip side, how much can a government push for equality before it starts stepping on personal liberty? Finding that sweet spot, that perfect balance, that's the constant, delicate act at the very heart of political science. Now, these ideas didn't just pop up out of nowhere. Nope, they were debated, they were refined, and they were written down by some of the most brilliant minds in history. So let's meet a few of these key architects, the people who literally drew the blueprints. You can trace this incredible line of thinking all the way from Plato and Aristotle in ancient Greece talking about the perfect society, through the Enlightenment with Locke and Rousseau fighting for individual rights, all the way to thinkers like Marx who challenged the very nature of power. Each one added a new layer, a new perspective, building on what came before. It's a global, centuries-long conversation that we're still having today. And this is what's so amazing. These ideas are absolutely timeless. I mean, look at this. You're seeing a quote from over 2,000 years ago, but Aristotle nailed something we still grapple with every single day. For a society to work, the law has to apply to everyone equally. That conversation is just as urgent today as it was in ancient Greece. So, we've got the big ideas, we've got the philosophy, but that's one thing. How do you actually turn concepts like liberty and equality into a real functioning government? Well, that brings us to part three, building the state. This is where we see how those ideas become actual structures. The starting point for just about every modern nation is its constitution. You've got to think of it as the master blueprint. It takes all those abstract ideas we were just talking about and forges them into concrete rules. It sets up the structures of power, it defines the rights of citizens, it's the official rulebook for the entire country. And to make sure no one part of the government gets way too powerful, most modern democracies like India split the power up. You have the legislature, which is parliament, and their job is to make the laws. Then there's the executive, led by the prime minister, who puts those laws into action. And finally, you have the judiciary, the courts, making sure the laws are applied fairly and line up with the Constitution. And this is that whole system in action. A new idea for a law, called a bill, gets introduced. Then it's fiercely debated, and eventually it's voted on. If it makes it through all those steps, it gets the final stamp of approval and becomes a law for the entire nation. It's this really complex but crucial dance between all the branches of government. Of course, no country exists in a bubble, so now let's zoom out from the national blueprint and see how all these different states navigate their relationships with each other on the incredibly complex world stage. So, why do countries do what they do? Well, there are a few different ways to look at it. There's realism, which basically says it's a dog-eat-dog world all about power. Then you have a more optimistic view, liberalism, which believes that cooperation and international rules can win out. And then there's constructivism, which argues that it's actually shared ideas and norms that really shape how nations act.
And get this, it's not just countries calling the shots anymore. The world stage is way more crowded. You've got huge international organizations like the UN, powerful regional groups like the EU, and even non-state actors like NGOs and giant corporations that can have a massive impact on global events.
Okay, we've covered ideas, thinkers, states, and the world. Now for what I think is the most important part. What does any of this mean for you? How does this giant blueprint actually touch your everyday life?
The answer is 2 words: public policy. This is where all that theory smacks right into the real world. Public policy is just the collection of laws and government actions designed to tackle real problems, everything from healthcare and education to the economy. It's the tangible result of the entire political system we've been talking about.
Seriously, just think about it. Policies like the National Health Mission are designed to get healthcare to more people. The Right to Education Act makes sure kids can go to school. These aren't just abstract ideas on paper, they are concrete government programs designed to shape society and, hopefully, improve people's lives. This is politics in action.
And you've got to remember, governments don't hold all the cards. A huge role is played by what's called civil society. This is just a mix of NGOs, powerful social movements, and regular citizen groups all working outside of the formal government. They are absolutely crucial for holding leaders accountable and pushing for the changes they want to see.
So when you strip it all away, when you get right down to it, this is what it's all about. Political science isn't some dusty, boring subject stuck in a textbook. It is the living, breathing, and yeah, often messy, process of us deciding our collective future. It's the continuous conversation about the rules we all agree to live by.
By understanding this blueprint, from the big ideas to the global players to the policies that affect your neighborhood, you become an informed participant, not just a spectator. The design of our world is not set in stone. It's constantly being erased and redrawn. So the only real question left is, what part will you play in drawing it?